Welcome to Mixed Videos Online 2023.
Subscribe now.
The capital of France, Paris, is among the world's most significant and prominent cities. After London, Paris receives the second highest number of tourists in Europe. The biggest sites in the city are listed in this travel guide, along with practical information on getting to Paris and visiting cheaply. The French capital appears to have been created with tourists' enjoyment in mind. Its avenues, public spaces, structures, parks, and monuments entice visitors to return, and many do. Visiting the Eiffel Tower, the Arc de Triomphe, and Notre Dame Cathedral are some of the most memorable activities in Paris. The famed Moulin Rouge cabaret performances, a trip through some of the most scenic areas, including Montmartre, or a climb up the Montparnasse Tower must be done in the evening. Any time is a wonderful time to travel to Paris. You can either take advantage of the low-cost airlines flying into the city from other European cities or catch one of its direct flights from farther distant places depending on where you fly from. Why not treat your kids to a vacation to Disneyland as a surprise? We advise learning a little about the history of this special city before visiting it, as well as learning valuable facts about Paris, which will undoubtedly help you plan your trip. All you have to do is pack your luggage and get ready to see one of the most romantic cities in the world once you learn about the top Paris attractions, the must-see museums, the best neighborhoods to stay in, and the characteristic French food. There is no other city like Paris. It is brimming with beauty, history, and culture. While many visitors come to Paris to visit the Louvre, scale the Eiffel Tower, or view Notre Dame, the city's true magic may be experienced on its streets. Here, the ins and outs of everyday life are on display. Chic ladies on bikes pedal their kids to school, artists set up shop in cafes with a notebook, and people of all ages wait in line morning and night for a hot baguette from the local bakery. Given that Paris is a city with a strong cultural identity and that it is home to people from all over the world, who bring their own cultures and customs to the mix, it is probably all you anticipated and then more. This is why a trip to Paris' most popular attractions is insufficient. Instead, wander the streets to experience the city's true spirit and allure. As you wander the streets of Paris, you might find yourself strolling the Montmartre hills in quest of the ideal crepe location or meandering through Belleville, a Chinese enclave dotted with stylish, young Parisians and ornate murals. You might be taking in an all-too-early verre du wine at a cafe in Saint-Germain-des-Prés or exploring the Latin Quarter across the Seine. It doesn't take much to become completely engrossed in this unique metropolis. Take a time to browse through our Paris travel guide, where we highlight our favorite local hangouts, must-do activities, and top accommodations, to make sure you don't miss anything. Paris' one vacation spot that never goes out of style is Paris. With 20 arrondissements or neighborhoods to explore, it's never been simpler to find the best of French food, modern art, and fashion. Paris is a city for everyone, whether you want to live like a native or visit the city's landmarks. With the help of our travel guide, explore a portion of Paris. Places to stay. Each of Paris' 20 arrondissements is a distinct community. The first arrondissement, where the cozy Hotel Crane is located, is the most convenient location for a base in the center of the city. Looking for a trip for two? You've arrived in the proper city. Montmartre is a favorite location for devoted couples because of its winding back streets and quaint town atmosphere. Private hideaway Hotel Particulier Montmartre is nestled away on a peaceful cobblestone street. Bookworms can snooze in Oscar Wilde's former chamber at the lavish El Hotel in the affluent 6th arrondissement. Pigalle is a cool, late-night neighborhood that serves as the center of Parisian nightlife and is not far from the renowned Moulin Rouge. Budget travelers will appreciate the reasonably priced accommodations at Generator Hostel in the vibrant 10th district. The Hotel des Grands Boulevards 18th-century Parisian splendor will appeal to design enthusiasts. The elegant Hotel Splendide Royal is one of many private homes and renovated townhouses that provide upscale lodging in the 8th arrondissement. Things to do. Planning a day trip to Paris is simple because to the city's abundance of restaurants, museums, shops, and cultural attractions. Here are a few ideas for things to do when visiting the French capital. Early in the morning, Paris has a certain enchantment. At Licensor, you may start your day the old-fashioned way with a flaky croissant that has just come out of the oven. With a pastry in hand, make your way to the Louvre to check if an early tour is possible. Discover hidden gems at Marge Auxiliary Puces de Estiwen, regarded as the largest flea market in the world, if you're in Paris over the weekend. Enjoy a lengthy lunch while dining in style in Paris. One of the town's most reasonably priced lunchtime tasting menus can be found at Restaurant Frenchy. If you want to stock up on cult beauty goods or find sustainable fashion businesses, go to Centre Commercial. Visit Pierre Hermé for some sweet treats like macarons and other pastries. Pour yourself a drink of wine or champagne to start the evening. Intimate wine bar Septime La Cave serves mostly natural wines from all across Europe. A visit to a traditional French restaurant for dinner would not be complete without one. La Bourse at La Vie is an opulent location to gorge on steak frites. Glace is a terrific place to end your night with a drink or a dance. Where to go? Museums and galleries. Paris boasts a wide variety of art, whether you favor historical pieces or modern pieces. One of the best places in Europe to see modern and contemporary art is the Palais de Tokyo. Take a stroll in the gardens of the Musée Rodin on a bright day. An outstanding collection of Impressionist works is housed at the Musée d'Orsay. Visit the Musée des Arts Forains with the kids in tow and ride the antique carousels. Day excursions. The ideal place to begin a trip throughout France is Paris. Versailles, a lavish palace that can be reached in a short train ride, is a must-see. Driving 2 hours southwest of Paris will get you to the Loire Valley's core, which is ideal for wine enthusiasts and history buffs. Visit Claude Monet's residence in Giverny, which is little under an hour away from the city by rail or automobile, to get a glimpse into his world. Moving about. The city may be reached from Charles de Gaulle International Airport, CDG, and Paris Orly Airport, ORY, via train, bus, rental vehicle, taxi, or shuttle service. The first major train station in Paris, Gare du Nord, is reached by RER trains in about 40 minutes. The metro is an inexpensive and practical way to explore the city and the surrounding areas of Paris. By foot or rented bicycle, explore Paris at your own speed. You can also rent a car to tour the city and then take the highway to view the breathtaking French countryside, which includes the stunning villages of Provence, Bordeaux's wineries, and the Côte d'Azur's expansive coastline. There are many available travel guides for Paris, because of its world-class museums, broad boulevards, Belle Époque architecture, and distinctive cuisine. Paris, the capital of France, is the most visited city in the world and is widely regarded as the cultural center of not just Europe but possibly the whole planet. But it's not simply Paris's reality that captivates you, it's also its imagination. Because of authors like Victor Hugo and Ernest Hemingway, films like An American in Paris and Moulin Rouge, and photographers like Brasseur and Henri Cartier-Bresson, the City of Light has been romanticized for the majority of us since birth. And even while most tourists are familiar with Paris's famous tourist attractions, like the Eiffel Tower, the locations that contain the city's spirit, which so many of us seek, like the Louvre and Notre Dame, are tougher to locate. In light of this, Vogue asked its editors to recommend places for them to stay, eat, shop, and explore throughout the arrondissements. Some suggestions are for traditionalists. You can't go wrong with a night of soufflé and a ballet performance. Other options include €5 dumplings and vintage stores that, in the words of one fashion writer, make you look Emmanuel Sainer straight out of Frantic, for those looking for alternate diversions. A trip to Paris. In the city of love. Everyone can find something to do in Paris. It features an abundance of culture and art, found in theaters, streets, museums, and galleries. Rich palaces and lovely gardens will capture your attention. Discover the broad boulevards and winding cobblestone lanes where a hidden gem awaits tourists at every turn. Don't forget to experience life, or joie de vivre as the French would say, when sightseeing. Where should I go in Paris? Start your exploration of Paris by going to the iconic Eiffel Tower, where you may take in the city's sights. Get a direct entry so you can avoid the admission line. You can visit the Louvre Museum after your hour-long trip on the Seine and your tour of the Eiffel Tower. With a ticket that allows you to bypass the line, you may spend the entire day marveling at the more than 35,000 things on display in the largest museum in the world. If you want to learn more about the museum, you can take a guided tour with a knowledgeable guide. From the roof terrace of the Montparnasse Tower, you can see all of Paris. Where can I find Royal Paris? The Palace of Versailles, one of the city's attractions, served as the home to 3 Louis-named kings. 815 hectares of gardens and parks surround it. Its interior conceals a number of beautiful halls. Purchase a ticket that ensures you have 1 or 2 days to explore with an audio guide. By taking a guided bike tour through the parks and having a picnic in the Marie Antoinette village, which is tucked away on the grounds of the palace, you may learn more about living there in a somewhat different way. Of course, a trip to the palace follows all of this. The Palace of Fontainebleau, which had been continually occupied for more than 800 years and served as Napoleon's residence as well, is another structure with a regal heritage. Its 130 chambers are currently home to the National Museum. For a look at the palace and its gardens, go to the Châteaux de Vaux-le-Vicomte. The highest point in the Montmartre neighborhood is where you'll find the Sacré-Cœur Basilica. Enter inside with a knowledgeable guide and take in the largest mosaic in the world. Why not also visit the area that has long served as the residence of foreigners, revolutionaries, and artists? One of the prettiest squares is Place du Tertre. A 2-hour guided tour that will introduce you to the essential components of Parisian culture, from cafes to clubs, is an even better approach to get to know the neighborhood. What other activities are there in Paris? The renowned Moulin Rouge Cabaret in Paris initially opened its doors in 1889. Fury, one of the most well-known performances, is included with a ticket, along with a half bottle of champagne. It is clear that Parisians have a tremendous affinity for fine wines. Don't pass up the opportunity to learn about French wine when you're in Paris. Learn about wines produced all throughout France. Which day trips should you pick? Give succumb to the allure of Paris surroundings. Go to Giverny, the place where the late painter Claude Monet resided. Visit his home and gardens to see the lovely plants that inspired him. Enjoy a stroll around the village's cobblestone streets. Only if you take your time and take the train will your trip be anything other than ideal. Children will love a trip to the fantastical Disneyland, where they may meet their favorite Disney characters and get their autographs. The entire family may enjoy roller coasters and a variety of performances. For spectacular panoramic views of France's romantic capital, wander the café-lined streets or climb to the top of one of the city's major landmarks. Paris is divided into 20 arrondissements, or districts, that spiral clockwise from the city's center. Each has its own personality and style, and the city's compactness makes it easy for visitors to recognize the variety of each district. The Seine River splits the city into left and right banks. Paris is simple to get around in and is best enjoyed by taking your time and exploring on foot. However, travelers can fit a lot of Paris cultural attractions into a short amount of time thanks to the city's quick metro system and effective bus network. The French love of food can be experienced by spending hours wandering through the streets and outdoor vegetable markets of Paris. Daily visits to patisseries, boulangeries, or one of Paris' many eateries should be made to break up the day. Wine is another interest, with stores selling bottles made in nearby vineyards and sidewalk cafes offering seats for guests to sit and enjoy a drink while observing Parisians going about their daily lives. Fashion lovers from all over the world swarm to Paris. Visit some of the most prestigious fashion houses in the world, such as Lanvin, Hermès, and Dior. Numerous people frequent Rue du Faubourg Saint-Arnaud, and the Champs-Élysées also provides a wonderful shopping experience. Paris is a city that values art in all its forms, as seen by the city's renowned museums, galleries, theaters, and opera houses. The National Museum of Modern Art at the Pompidou Center allows visitors to consider modern art, while the Louvre provides a thorough history of some of the most significant works of art ever created. Stroll around Montmartre's cobblestone alleyways to get a glimpse into the world of an artist. There, portrait commissions are available from local artists. It should come as no surprise that the French prefer to spend their vacations at home, with many of them taking place between mid-July and the end of August. Paris is at its busiest during this period, while many of the off-the-beaten-path amenities appear to be deserted. On the other side, if visitors can handle the crowds, July shouldn't be completely avoided because Bastille Day on July 14th offers some of the most breathtaking photo opportunities in the entire globe. Recommended routes. Day 1. The historical background. Start the day early with a coffee and croissant breakfast on the sidewalk. Visit the Arc de Triomphe and Place de la Concorde by going to the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. After a quick meal, proceed to the Cathédrale Notre Dame before making your way to the left bank to relax in one of the bars. Spend the evening with a bistro supper and a River Seine boat, then return to your hotel for a well-deserved hot bath. Day 2. Culture and the arts. Avoid the crowds and visit the Louvre right away to see the Mona Lisa in peace. The gallery is extremely large, so if you just have half a day to spend there, choose the areas you want to see very carefully. Choose a more laid-back day by traveling to the Montmartre neighborhood and spending the evening exploring the Bohemian streets. In a Parisian bar, finish the evening by tasting some regional wines. Day 3. Explore Paris's periphery. Take the RER train outside of the city to the Palace of Versailles. To fully appreciate its magnificent gardens and lavish furnishings, one must visit. In one of Paris' many Michelin-starred restaurants, enjoy a leisurely evening of traditional French cuisine. Don't miss the sweets. Day 4. Treat yourself. Spend the day shopping, a popular pastime in Paris. Paris has everything you might want, from flea markets to upscale boutiques and department stores. There is no better way to cap off your time in Paris than with a visit to the Eiffel Tower. Arrive to your destination after a leisurely stroll down the Seine, and then take your time taking in the panoramas from the summit. Book a reservation for supper or drinks at altitude 95 on the upper levels if you want to truly do the Eiffel Tower. Even though the allure of Paris has been well documented, you can't fully appreciate it until you see its vast boulevards, outdoor cafes, and dazzling street lights. Paris draws foodies, fashionistas, art enthusiasts, and everyone in between with its important art, opulent hotels, unparalleled shopping, and excellent restaurants. Most visitors stay in the first 10 arrondissements, neighborhoods, or closest to the city center out of the 20 that make up the City of Light. Once you've seen the must-see tourist attractions, such as the smile on the Mona Lisa at the Louvre, the view from the Eiffel Tower, and the enormous bells of Notre Dame Cathedral, find a seat in a bustling corner cafe and enjoy some of the best people watching in the world. Along the Champs-Élysées, you can shop for high-end Parisian goods like Louis Vuitton and Cartier and stop by a classic brasserie for dishes like guinea hen and pâté en croûte. One of the most romantic cities in the world, this one is perfect for lovers. At night, the softly lighted cobblestone streets demand for hand-holding and secret demonstrations of devotion. Are you considering visiting Paris for the first time, the 5th time, or 1,000 times? I'm sure there are many things you may not have thought about but that you absolutely must know. Here are some travel advice for Paris that you should be aware of before going, from the ideal time to visit the city to venturing off the main path. Paris is best visited during the shoulder seasons. This is one of my top suggestions for a trip to Paris among all of my other advice. This means that the summer months, the peak travel season, are the greatest times to visit Paris. By doing this, you can still enjoy the nice weather without having to deal with as many tourists as you would in the summer. Stay in a central location and make thorough advance plans for your lodging. Only reserve lodging close to the airport if you have an early flight the following morning, and then only for that one night. Your lodging will take up a significant chunk of your travel budget for your trip to Paris, if not the majority of it. As a result, I strongly advise planning your trip well in advance. Your unique travel preferences will determine exactly where you stay in Paris. The majority of the city's upscale lodgings are located in the 8th arrondissement, while more modest lodgings are located close to the periphery. The best hotel deals in Paris may be found here. The greatest way to see Paris is on foot. Like many capital towns in Europe, Paris is best experienced on foot. Be ready to walk a lot. After all, I frequently discover that the only way I can get a true sense of the real Paris and experience the city from the viewpoint of a local is by simply roaming around. On this manner, you'll also have the chance to peer through those doorways and find the secret treasures you might otherwise have missed if you were sitting on a bus or standing in a subway. Take some unguided, cost-free walking tours. When traveling in Europe, you'll quickly discover that the greatest way to see a new city is to take advantage of all the free walking tours that are available. While many businesses provide free tours in exchange for a tip, if you search for free and self-guided walking tours in X in your search engine, you'll quickly uncover a wealth of self-guided tours. The majority of the city's upscale lodgings are located in the 8th arrondissement, while more modest lodgings are located close to the periphery. The best hotel deals in Paris may be found here. The greatest way to see Paris is on foot. Like many capital towns in Europe, Paris is best experienced on foot. Be ready to walk a lot. After all, I frequently discover that the only way I can get a true sense of the real Paris and experience the city from the viewpoint of a local is by simply roaming around. On this manner, you'll also have the chance to peer through those doorways and find the secret treasures you might otherwise have missed if you were sitting on a bus or standing in a subway. Take some unguided, cost-free walking tours. When traveling in Europe, you'll quickly discover that the greatest way to see a new city is to take advantage of all the free walking tours that are available. While many businesses provide free tours in exchange for a tip, if you search for free and self-guided walking tours in X in your search engine, you'll quickly uncover a wealth of self-guided tours. Avoid pickpockets and other common travel frauds. You'll probably encounter a number of scams while in Paris, especially if you spend a lot of time in touristy neighborhoods like Montmartre, Hôtel de Ville, and Le Marais. These can include somebody attempting to tie a knot around your hands or asking you to sign a fake petition. Take the public transit. Take the subway to avoid traffic jams and taxi cabs. If you plan on using the metro frequently or are traveling in a group, be sure to buy a carnet because it is quick, easy, and reasonably priced. This is essentially 10 metro tickets packaged together for a lower price than purchasing them separately. Learn the words for hello and good evening in French. Hello et bonsoir, please, est Illinois vous plaît, or when learning a new language, saying thank you, merci, and sorry, respectively, is a fantastic place to start. People are more likely to be helpful if you at least try to make an effort with a little French, even if many of the people you'll meet will speak English. The idea that French people are really rude is a popular one. This is definitely not the case, I can assure you from personal experience. Instead, trying to learn a few words of French will help a lot. Ensure you have a basic French phrasebook like this one with you. Explore France outside of Paris. One of the biggest errors people make when traveling to Europe is not allowing enough time to explore France outside of Paris. After all, outside of the French city, there are innumerable chateaux, tiny medieval towns, and a wealth of breathtaking countryside to discover. Versailles, the Fontainebleau Castle, and the medieval city of Provence are all worthwhile day trips from Paris. Meuse is ideal for foodies while Auvers-sur-Oise is a historical town and the final resting place of Vincent van Gogh for those looking to venture off the beaten path and avoid the more popular locations. Think about getting the Paris Pass. I strongly advise buying the Paris Pass, get the card here, if you intend to visit numerous sites while in the city, or simply want to avoid many of the lengthy waiting lines. The pass offers advantages including avoiding the lengthy lines at many of the major attractions and free transportation on the buses and metro. Bring a pair of comfy sneakers. When it comes to sightseeing, getting lost and wandering around are probably the best ways to learn about the city's finest secrets. It's usual to walk upwards of 20,000 steps each day when exploring Paris, so be prepared and put on your most comfortable shoes. These sandals are mine, and I love them so much that I bought 3 other colors of them. If not, you should be aware that while in the past wearing trainers was strictly forbidden, fashion and utility have caught up, and you'll be glad you brought along a pair of comfortable trainers. Even though I adore these trendy sneakers, I think plimsolls like these are the most useful for navigating the city. Avoid the top blunders people make in Paris. You might make a lot of blunders in Paris without even realizing it, from ordering bottled water in a restaurant to failing to greet the shopkeeper as you enter. Check out the 12 most common Paris blunders and how to avoid them, or for a comprehensive guide. Otherwise, my best advice is to make sure you don't waste time in Paris by standing in any lengthy lines of lines. This implies that for all the major sites and attractions, you should purchase your entrance tickets well in advance and with skip-the-line features. On a Sunday, be prepared for things to be closed in Paris. Similar to many countries with a large Catholic population, many businesses are closed or, at the very least, operate with shortened hours on Sundays. Therefore, if you need to get anything from the store or anywhere similar, make sure to do it well in advance. If you travel to the country, you may anticipate that many taverns and restaurants will be closed on Sunday. As a result, the majority of significant museums as well as landmarks like the Eiffel Tower and Arc de Triomphe are open on Sundays. Instead, Mondays and Tuesdays are normally off limits for museums like the Louvre and Musée d'Orsay. Make the most of coffee culture. Sitting in a cafe, sipping on an espresso, and watching the world go by, it is perhaps one of Paris' clichés. But, truth be told, you have to make the time to enjoy cafe culture at least once when in Paris. In the past few years, coffee culture in Paris has exploded, resulting in exciting new openings and plenty of delicious caffeine stops across the city. Attempt some French food. While we're talking about eating in France, avoid going to the typical chain restaurants in Paris. After all, the city is frequently regarded as one of the world's top gastronomic cities. There are lots of possibilities to eat fresh, genuine French food in Paris even if you're a vegan or vegetarian, albeit with a twist that excludes dairy and pork. Say bonjour whenever you enter a store. In France, it is considered to be the height of rudeness to not say hello upon entering a store. As a result, if you say bonjour when you enter any restaurant or shop, you'll discover that storekeepers are considerably nicer and easy to converse to. Don't try to see everything while you're in the Louvre Museum. The Louvre, the biggest museum in the world, undoubtedly has a lot to see, including the Mona Lisa of course. However, if you want to get the most out of your trip, try to schedule it in advance or, at the absolute least, attempt to limit your visit to one museum wing. You can then take full use of your visit. I advise buying a Louvre ticket in advance before going, or using the Paris Pass, which includes admission. This includes a convenient skip-the-line option that will allow you to spend more time exploring the museum rather than waiting in lines. Paris's center is not where the Eiffel Tower is located. A common misconception is that the Eiffel Tower is centrally located, surrounded by all of Paris' other tourist hotspots. Instead, the Champ de Mars and Jardins du Trocadero encircle the Eiffel Tower, leaving it in the open. The so-called La Tour Eiffel is located on the western side of Paris, far from Notre Dame, Montmartre, or Le Marais. The largest of the two naturally occurring islands on the Seine River, Île de la Cité, is where you should look if you're looking for the city's beating heart. Here, you'll find landmarks like Sainte-Chapelle and Hôtel Dieu de Paris. The best view of the French capital is not from the Eiffel Tower. And while we're on the subject of the Eiffel Tower, or Tour Eiffel as it is known in French, be aware that it perhaps offers the most unimpressive vista in all of Paris. One of my top recommendations for travelers to Paris is to avoid the Iron Lady in favor of the Arc de Triomphe if you're seeking for a stunning vista. Get up at least once to watch the sunrise. While practically everyone is there for the sunset, you can have the sight to yourself more at the sunrise. The Trocadero is, in my opinion, the ideal location in Paris to view the sunrise. Once there, you'll quickly realize the Eiffel Tower and pastel skies are reflected in the city's largest fountain, which serves as a water mirror. Bring a travel adapter. Paris, and France in general, are used as plug types, types C and E. As such, if you're traveling from the UK, USA, Canada, and many other destinations, you'll need to buy an adapter. I recommend buying a universal travel adapter that you can use for multiple destinations, rather than buying a new adapter for each place you visit. Keep your metro ticket throughout the journey. Many people make the mistake of discarding their used metro ticket as soon as they've passed through the gate. However, if you do this, then you'll be at risk of getting a fine. So be sure to keep hold of that tiny ticket in case someone checks your metro ticket at any time during your journey, including when you're about to exit the metro. If you're found to not have a ticket, the fines can be anything upwards of €33, so be sure to keep that ticket super safe and do actually buy a ticket, rather than jumping over the barrier. Ignorance of how the system works is not a valid excuse, and you'll still be made to pay a fine if you're found to not have a validated ticket. Scout out one of the best views of Paris at Galeries Lafayette. One of the best free things to do in Paris is to head to the Galeries Lafayette rooftop terrace. Located above the ever-so-pretty Art Nouveau cupola in the department store's flagship store, the rooftop terrace is typically open during daylight hours. Offering unparalleled views of the Eiffel Tower, Opera House, and more, you really should be visiting this rooftop at least once during your trip to Paris. The best time of the day to go is late afternoon when the light is simply gorgeous. Dress as the Parisians do. What this means is maintaining a largely neutral wardrobe. Skip the bold prints and bright sneakers. Instead, opt for a monochromatic feel, though neutral sneakers trainers are fine for walking around and is what many Parisians wear. For more tips, check out this article on how to dress more like a Parisienne. Explore off-the-beaten-path locations in Paris. Between a lost iron railway that loops itself around the city and a colourful street that appears as if it comes straight from London's Notting Hill, there's no shortage of unique, quirky, and unusual things to do in the city. Make restaurant reservations in advance. The most popular places in town tend to get booked up fast, especially if you're dining out during the weekend. As such, I highly recommend booking your table well in advance. And for those who are wondering some of the best places to eat in Paris, there are plenty of options from which to choose. For example, Bouillon Chartier, 7 Rue du Faubourg Montmartre, offers affordable and authentic French food, though you can't book in advance. In Le Bistrot d'Henri, 16 Rue Princesse, is a tiny eatery, has barely any cover spaces and is perfect for date night. You can reserve a table in advance, which I highly recommend considering the popularity of the place. Allow yourself time in your itinerary for exploring at a slower pace. Of all the tips for traveling to Paris that are on this list, this one is incredibly important. Paris is a city that simply can't be fully seen in 10 decades, let alone in a long weekend. If you try and do too much while in the French capital, you won't be able to fully enjoy your experience. Likewise, pull out a map and plan to see attractions and monuments by area, otherwise, you might find that you'll spend much of your visit on public transport. Of course, one of the best ways to enjoy Paris and stumble upon an otherwise hidden gem is to allow yourself to get a little lost while exploring on foot. So allow yourself time to do this too. If you have enjoyed the video, please like, share and subscribe, and thanks for watching.